Hello, this is NG36B. Wanted to talk about Action Plan 14, create a game environment to manage DON data sharing. Probably sounds a little silly at the outset, but actually I think there is a lot more here than what people will give it credit for. For starters, I think a gaming environment is actually really good. We tend to try to focus on making training realistic and such, but the reality is that, especially for something like data sharing, it's unless you're actually generating the data real time, which is probably when you don't want to be playing games and such because you're out at sea and you're doing stuff. The time to test your ability to share data and whatnot is before you go on mission, before you fly over your targets, before that stuff happens. So one of the great thing with data sharing is that with a game environment, you could create fake data essentially, and it would allow your operators to get a chance to test their data sharing ability. I think the idea of doing an exercise, if you will, into data sharing is a good one. We could generate a virtual environment. We do really well on the N7 side with making virtual environments. I mean, we're at the point where we can virtually connect to certain coalition partners and do wargaming with them on their own systems while a ship is in port, and yet it'll look like the ship is out to sea. I think that's pretty incredible, and with the data sharing, we could do the same. I think we could do the same thing, except instead of being at your terminal on the ship, you're at a terminal sitting in a shore station. And I think this has a lot of good implications. One would be identifying where all your weak points are when it comes to data sharing. You find operators that don't know that they can upload a video to iVideo. They don't tag a video correctly. They don't meet certain timelines, right? If you're a tomahawker, you know all about meeting timelines to post line 1, 2, and 3, etc. But a lot of people don't try to meet timelines, if you will, for sharing post-mission products. So I think that having that kind of game in the form of an exercise would be really beneficial. Also, it checks your access to things. I think part of the gaming environment should be sharing with coalition partners. That is going to be a bigger and bigger piece in future wars. We're no longer going to just simply go it alone and occasionally tow a coalition partner with us. We are going to be depending on coalition partners for a lot. But as the United States Navy, we still own and manage one of the best ISR systems out there. And our coalition partners will leverage off of that. If we do not effectively share with them, their people will get hurt, and it will ultimately hurt our war aims. So I think what a data sharing exercise should also test is our ability to use coalition sharing networks. And we should have our coalition partners up there, and also to make sure that they can share with us. A lot of times we focus on making sure we push stuff to them and don't necessarily focus on actually getting something from them. So I think if we have those kind of exercises set up, it can be in a game environment, but it will ultimately train our operators to be better at data sharing, better at data tagging, and all those kind of things before they get out in theater. And then what they make, those products that they spend so much time and effort, and we pay them money to do, we put them in harm's way to do. It'll make sure those products don't get stovepiped. I mean, what is worse than putting a bunch of sailors in harm's way to make a product to do a really good job and only have a few people read it? That's terrible. That is a disservice that is happening right now in the Navy because we don't take this whole data sharing piece seriously. So in short, we should be making a game environment for it. Kind of gave my thoughts there, and feel free to add to the comments.